Hi, this is Gail with Gail's Southern Living. Today I'm going to do a different subject than what I normally do. I'm going to do the top 12 baking items to prep, in my opinion. I'm sure there are many more items. These are just my opinion. So, with the direction that the world is going right now, I think it's a good idea to put some ideas out there for you guys who might not have thought about the baking items you might need in case of an emergency. So, number one on my list is sugar. And within sugar, that includes brown sugar, honey, maple syrup, powdered sugar, anything in the sugar family, sugar substitute if that's what you use, anything like that. You could store a bunch of those sugar substitute packets in one of these glass jars and they would stay good for longer. During the Depression, sugar was the first item that was rationed. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about prepping ideas of what to get. Right now, sugar should be on the top of your list, in my opinion, because that's the first thing they rationed back then. In turn, it might be the first thing they ration now. Okay, so flour. Now, in case of some kind of emergency, we're going to need to be able to make our own bread in case we can't buy it. This includes also your almond flour, cassava flour, tapioca flour, any kind of flour that you might use. And be sure to have on hand your bread recipe, how to make your bread, and everything you need to make your bread. Be sure you have all that stuff on hand and have your recipe for bread handwritten or in your recipe box so that you will have it on hand if the power goes out, you're in an emergency situation, you have the stuff, you just need to know how to make it. So, all right, next on the list I have salt. You see this big old container of salt. So what I did was take the salt out of the little white container and put it in here so that it would last longer. So I try to put as much stuff in glass as I can afford personally. So salt has a lot of other uses. You can use it for eliminate a grease fire, clean up spills, set color, kills poison ivy. I know you also can use it like when it's icy outside, you can put salt on the ground. It'll, like if you're worried about slipping, it's all icy outside, salt can be used for that purpose too. So there's many uses for salt, but baking, of course, is one of the most important. Next on my list, baking powder, which you see I put in this glass container so it'll last longer. Next on my list is boxed milk, canned milk, or powdered milk. There are certain recipes where you would want to have milk. Some bread recipes, maybe some cookie recipes, some sauce recipes, gravy, of course. My canned chicken soup recipe that I made the other day calls for boxed milk. And if you get real desperate, you may end up even drinking it. So, boxed milk, I think, is a great thing to have on hand with all the stuff going on and the farmers having to pour out the milk onto the ground. We need to keep boxed milk, powdered milk, and canned milk on hand. But keep eye on the dates. Cornmeal. Now, I have made cornbread in the past with cornmeal. I have made it homemade, but I haven't done it in a long time. But I have the recipe written down, and I'm going to make sure that I have everything on that list of things that I need to make cornbread homemade. So, cornmeal. I think cornmeal is definitely important. An egg substitute. Say it gets bad and you can't afford to feed your chickens and you have to end up butchering them. And which could happen. I know applesauce is one of the substitutes. Some people, if you have a lot of apples, you may have some home canned. So applesauce can be used as an egg substitute. I have read that in the past. I know my mom purchased an egg substitute at Drug Emporium. I don't personally have that item. Might be something I need to add to my preps at some point. But that is one that I remember. Now this one may not be an important one in the baking items, but to me it's important. Cocoa powder. Okay, so cocoa powder can be used to flavor your powdered milk. If you were going to drink it, adding a little cocoa powder and a little bit of sugar would make it a halfway decent chocolate milk. Also, you could use cocoa powder to make brownies, homemade brownies. So if it gets down to the, certain situations to where you don't have your boxed brownie mix and your boxed cake mix, cocoa powder, you can also make candy with it too, like fudges and things like that. So I think cocoa powder is important. Most people will probably put that at the very bottom of the list, and it may go there, but I just wanted to be sure to add that. And that's just my opinion. Baking soda. Okay. So I take the baking soda out of the box and put it into a container so I can save it. It's great for baking. It can also be used for lots of things to do with your mouth. Mouthwash, soothe a canker sore, whiten your teeth, deodorant, relieve itchy or sunburned skin. So there's multiple uses for baking powder, even more than what I looked up on the internet today. Yeast. So obviously buying it in a bigger container is a good idea. I heard a lot of people store theirs in the freezer. And I have used yeast that is past the expiration date, and that bread rose up just fine. So just because the date is out on the yeast, don't throw it out. Try it. It's worth a shot. So that's just my opinion. Also, if we get into an emergency situations, our seasonings are going to become really, really important. So I try to take my seasonings that are in plastic containers and put them in glass because they last longer in glass. See, right here is my homemade taco seasoning. So having a bunch of seasonings is a great idea. Because you're not going to be able to buy your box things, which aren't good for us anyway. So we need to have our seasonings on hand, and we need to try to store as much of it in glass as we can just to keep it good longer. And in my opinion, expiration dates on seasoning are pointless. I don't even care about the expiration date. The only thing that's going to happen to your seasoning, in my opinion, is it's going to dull in flavor after a while. But if you try to keep it in glass, it'll be much better for your seasonings. Okay. Cooking oil. Olive oil, cooking oil, Crisco, anything like that is great for baking. Can be used in a lot of recipes. Cooking oil and all those type products are very important. Also, your cooking spray. Because if you were going to have to do your cooking outside, you're going to want to have, certain grills and stuff, you're going to want to have some cooking spray. If you're cooking everything outside, you're going to probably want some cooking spray. Also, if you get a big huge jug of cooking oil, which I have one, if that expiration date goes out on your cooking oil, that can still be used to make a lamp, which I have a video on that where I made a button lamp out of cooking oil. So if you want to go back and watch that video, that's back toward the beginning within my first 10 or 12 videos. So Crisco can also be used to make a lamp, and I will make another video like that in the future because I think it's important to know that you can make light from a lot of these oils. In the comment section below, list any baking items you think are necessary that I missed on this list, and I will turn around and put that in a video in the future. I definitely want your opinion. This is just what came up out of my head today. So you guys have a great day. I hope you enjoyed my 12 baking items to prep video. Have a great day. Be blessed. Do something kind, guys.